Hi, and welcome back to the mini farm. Today, I'm going to show you how to make eggplant parmesan. I got a few questions when I posted the weekly menu on Facebook and Instagram. One of the questions was, how do you make it not watery? I'll show you today how to prepare your eggplant so you can get a nice, firm dish that is not soggy and full of flavor. So if you want to see how to make delicious eggplant parm, then just keep watching. But first, please give this video a thumbs up if you like videos like this, and click the red subscribe button below. If it's already great, thank you so much for being here. I really love having you here, and I enjoy our chats in the comment section. Without further ado, here's my delicious eggplant parmesan. First thing we're going to do is prep our eggplant. You can do this the night before, the morning of, or up to 30 minutes before. We're going to start with a clean washed eggplant and a dry surface. Cut it into about 1-inch circles. Try to keep them as even as possible, and then put them on a cookie cooling rack on top of your cookie sheet. Okay, here's the thickness compared to my thumb. And then when I get to the end, I just kind of peel the green off just a little bit. It'll give you a few more slices, and that way you can cut all the way to the end there. Okay, now that I have them all laid out, I'm going to generously salt every single piece, and then wait about 5 minutes, flip them over, and generously salt the other side. And then I'm going to leave them here for about an hour. This is going to draw out some of the moisture in the eggplant, and it's also going to draw out some of the bitterness because some of that liquid is a little bit bitter. Just let them sit for 5 minutes or so the salt can kind of adhere to the top of them, and then we'll flip them over and do the same thing on the other side. All right, it's been about 5 minutes. So you can see that some of the water's been drawn out by the salt. So at this point, I'm going to flip them over and salt the other side. And then we can set our timer for about an hour. All right, a lot of the water has been released, if you can kind of see it dripping. Let me see if I can change the angle here. So I'm taking the pieces and I'm just kind of letting all the water drip off on both sides, tapping it off very gently because you don't want to break your eggplant. You can see all of the liquid kind of dripping off here. This is all just the bitterness and the extra moisture that's inside the eggplant. After you tap off all the liquid, you take the paper towel and kind of lay it on top with just the weight of your hand, very gentle on top. Let it absorb all of that moisture. You can see it's absorbed all of the moisture. And then halfway through, you might need to replace your paper towel, or if you have a food grade cloth that you can use here too, but you want it to be a super dry towel because you definitely want to pull as much moisture out as you can, and wipe off the outside too. My eggplant is all dried and ready to go, so now I'm going to set up my keto breading station. You can make this the normal way, and I'll give you both recipes below, but I'm going to show you what the two things that I'm switching out. That's the only two things I'm switching out to make it keto. I'm using oat fiber instead of flour. Oat fiber is the keto version. And then I'm going to do a mixture of pork rinds that I'm going to grind and almond flour for the outside of my breading. If you're doing the regular version, use Panko. That's the only difference. Everything else is going to be the same, but if you want the exact measurements and stuff, look below. So we have oat fiber, almond flour, pork rinds, some heavy whipping cream, eggs, and then for the topping, I'm going to do mozzarella cheese and Parmesan cheese. I'm also going to make my own marinara sauce, but you can use any low carb or regular marinara sauce that you like for this recipe. And then for the seasonings, we're going to do oregano, thyme, salt, pepper, and then a little bit of oil to fry in. We're gonna do a shallow fry when we bread these. Okay, I'm gonna get started with the pork grinds first. You can buy pork rind breadcrumbs. It's so much cheaper to make your own. Just buy a bag of regular pork rinds and just use that. I use the ones that are just lightly salted with sea salt and doesn't give any extra flavor, it just gives you the crunch. Chop it up until it's fine. Into a bowl. You can easily put these in a bag and just crunch them too if you don't want to just put it in a Ziploc bag and hammer away at it. It'll crunch it down. Second part of the breading station is the eggs. So let's crack them in there. And then just a splash of heavy cream and whisk that together. It's a lot easier to whisk eggs with a fork in my opinion. I don't need any fancy equipment here. And finally, the oat fiber. All right, I'm gonna do a little bit of the almond flour mixed in. I'm gonna do about a tablespoon of that in here just to give it a little bit extra dimensional crunch. I'm also adding in some salt, pepper, freshly cracked, thyme, and oregano into this mix. Mix it together really well. Now we need a wet hand and a dry hand. With your dry hand, pick up the eggplant, flip it. Make sure it's coated really well with the oat fiber or the flour. This is what's gonna get our egg mixture to really stick to it. Drop it into the egg mixture. Now we need our wet hand to flip it, and then pick that up and put it into the panko mixture. Shake that around a little bit. And using your dry hand, scoop from underneath and flip it. Kind of press it in there a little bit so it really picks up some of that good crispiness. And then just put it right on the tray there. I have them all breaded up and ready to go, and I have my station set up, so I'm going to take them from that pan into some frying oil, and I'm going to just kind of coat the bottom here just so when you put them in it comes up halfway on the side, and we're going to fry them in small batches. And then over here is where I'm going to put them to cool off. While I'm waiting for my oil to heat up, I'm going to go ahead and also heat up my oven. I want it to be at 400 degrees. To check to see if our oil is ready, I'm putting a wooden spoon in the bottom. If it bubbles up like that, it's ready. So I don't want to crowd the pan. I'll put them in gently. Be very careful not to sizzle your fingers. And I'm going to try to put in as many as will fit without touching. Okay, I was able to fit in 4 nicely so they have lots of circulation of air all around them. And I'm going to fry them, and halfway through I'm going to flip them with my tongs. So I could have probably fit another one in the middle there. That's going to crowd them a little bit too much. So I'm going to just do small batches. They'll come out crispier that way. I'll lose a lot less of the breading that way. And it's just easier that way in general. You're not going to make a big mess. And dropping your next down. Okay, these are all fried up and ready to go. I'm gonna clean up this mess and go ahead and get started on the marinara sauce. Like I said before, you could easily just use the jarred sauce here, so you don't need to do this step if you don't want to. If you want my marinara sauce recipe, let me know in the comments below. I can easily do a video on that too. If I'm in a hurry, I usually do use store-bought sauce, and I really like the Rouse sauce. It is the lowest in carbs that I've found, and it's packed full of flavor. If you want my recipe, I'm happy to share that, but in an effort to not make this video 30 minutes long, I'm gonna put that in a different video if you still want the recipe. Okay, to assemble this, you want a little bit of marinara sauce in the bottom of your Pyrex pan here. Just want a light coating in it. Don't want it sitting directly on the bottom of the glass because then it won't get any marinara flavor on the eggplant parm. Then we're going to add another layer of the marinara sauce on top and around them a little bit. Sprinkle it with about half of our mozzarella and half of our Parmesan. Sure, you load it up with that parm. And now that it's completely covered in that cheese, I'm going to go ahead and do another layer. When I was stacking these up, I tried to kind of put together the pieces that matched in size, and then I also tried to put the smaller of the two on top so when you pull it out, it doesn't topple over. And then I just topped it off with the rest of the sauce, and I went super heavy on the mozzarella and on the Parmesan right after that. And then you just put it in the oven and let it bake until the cheese melts. Everything's already cooked at this point, you're just melting the cheese here. Fresh out of the oven, and it's super bubbly. It was in there for about 25-30 minutes until all the cheese melted and the sauce came up to a bubble. I'm gonna let it rest for just a bit until the bubbles stop, and then we'll go ahead and serve it up. This is what it looks like all plated up. I made a homemade dressing and some homemade keto croutons to go with it, and we shaved some fresh Parmesan to put on top of that salad. This was such a yummy and healthy meal. So if you would like me to share my crouton and salad dressing recipes, let me know. The croutons are super easy, so I can probably put them both in the same video. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and if you haven't done so already, you can click on my face to subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye!